Right, now when I talk about these issues here to do with trading, I count myself in this. These are great markets, but it's a question of making sure you are engaging this market with all the tools you need to make a profit out of it. So the reason tonight's subject is identifying some of the weaknesses that all of us have either had or have got now, and looking at what you should be doing, and then working towards how you can make yourself more consistent and more profitable. So yeah, all these sorts of things where increasing your position size after winning trades, been there, done that. Keep trading after a losing trade. One minute. Yeah, I've been there and done that. Changing strategy indicators. Yeah, that's me, of old, and so on. So having identified some of the issues that you may or may not be suffering, what should you be doing? How should you be conducting yourself in this market? So what I am going to be doing here is, this is a short list. I'm going to be going to some charts in a minute. I'm not going to, I'm only going to give you a few, 2-3 slides, because this is meant to be a discussion point. And if you are interested, I'll actually turn your mic on if you've got a microphone, and you can ask some questions, we can chat, or you can just type in questions if you want to contribute, that is. So what do the pros do? The pros might be obvious to you, but let's go through it anyway. They find a trading style, but more importantly, the system. The key word in this is system. You've got to have a method of engaging this market, particularly if you're looking at the volatile US markets. Dow moves about 2.5–3 times faster than DAX. So if you're going to engage US markets, you've got to be right on the button. And it may sound obvious, but you have got to put the hard work in. I train some people who come into the program, come into my live training room, and do nothing but copy what I do. Well, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The idea of the trading room is to lead by example. But if all you're doing is copying a trade, then you're not really sort of mastering it and potentially exploiting what you could be doing. I find a lot of people who don't put the work in, don't take some trades, or take some trades and don't stay in it before they reach targets, all these kinds of things. So although these are very obvious things, you do need to have done a lot of background work and be very clear about what you're doing in this market. But like I said, having a system, and we'll talk about that after this slide, I'll show you straight after this slide. Having a system is really, really important. I can't emphasize that. When I was making mistakes before I really set my trading system up and fine-tuned it over many, many, many trading sessions and many hours of hard work. So before I go into the market, I've done all the scanning, all the prep I need to do, and I know what levels I'm interested in. And so I'm prepared, I'm ready for these markets, and I'm looking for a confirmation in these markets. It's so easy, particularly in the early days of your trading, less experienced days of the trading, to say, oh yeah, I'm sure that's going to do that. I'll take this trade, and would you believe it? It goes against you because you've not been patient enough. And discipline is absolutely paramount in this. If you haven't got sufficient levels of discipline, you cannot survive. You cannot grow your account in this market. And I was only talking to somebody today about the importance of not just the importance of discipline, but the ability. This particular person had built their account up very well, and I've seen it many times over. This person is not unique. Built their account up to actually a very great level, very pleased with themselves, and they just start making a lot of mistakes. They just got too ambitious, too greedy, all the things that we all fall into. So all of these elements are crucial. So let's come away from the slides a moment and just talk about what we're actually looking at here. Now, we've had a fantastic week this week, and if you've been on the end of my emails, you've seen some comments that our members in the training room have been posting. The last email I sent an hour ago was members talking about 60+ pips in 10 minutes, etc. And we've got tremendous liquidity in this market and great directional moves at the moment. Not always the case, as I'm sure you know only too well, but at the moment they're doing really well. So all I'm doing in trading, this is my system, this is the core of my system, but it's what I'm not going to show you today is the main tools. I'm just going to show you the hub of my system. And what we got here is the DAX this morning on a 5-minute chart with the open range. So this is the high and low of the first 5 minutes of the day, and I got in the trade very quickly for reasons that I will not reveal today, but nonetheless, because I was prepared. I was looking for certain activity, certain price action today, so when the markets opened and they started behaving in the way that matched my expectations and my specifications, then I took the trade, and I already was taking profits out at this level here and re-entering. I didn't engage this market in this chop, and so, we can see here we are still tipping lower. All these highs are just getting sold. Now, one of the common things that I used to do, and maybe you do as well, is particularly if you look at smaller time frames. If you are studying smaller time frames, there are some conflicting signals here, and it's very easy to counter trend trade. Even a short period after this market, that looks like a convincing. If you're trading a 5-minute chart, that looks like an engulfing bar. Well, the days in which you had engulfing bars in all time frames, not just these, the days we have engulfing bars and the whole thing sort of turns around are gone, long since gone. These are algorithmic dominated markets where you need to be very clear about how you're trading. So even here we look into the close. In the European close, we look as if we are potentially going to turn around, and still we sell. And I think this is one of the most obvious mistakes. I'm constantly, once we get a directional move in this market, I'm constantly looking for pullbacks in that direction. And so few people do that. Very few people do that. But that is essential, that is central to my style of trading. And I know only too well from experience that if you get a direction in the markets and then you start counter trend trading, and you may be doing this without thinking, but if you are counter trend trading, you will just give those profits back for sure. Okay, so that's the system that's the core of the system I'm looking at. And then these tools we have what's called a golden anchor. And this golden anchor is able to use data in a certain way that gives 3 very specific signals. So although we are scalpers, in the trading room we are scalpers, we have a reversal setup, if there is an intraday reversal, we have a pullback zone, and then we have a breakout setup. The main breakout setup, I'll tell you what that is. So I'll share you one of the three core areas we look at on the golden anchor. I'll just put GA for golden anchor. The breakout is pretty simple. You know, none of this is rocket science. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute I've reinvented trading. What I have done in Scalper School is I've got very, very clearly defined rules and limits to the way in which we trade. The simple breakout, and it's a really, really obvious one, is if you are breaking the highs or the lows of the previous day, then get in the trade and stay in it. And we've got, if we do get breakouts, we have very specific targets that we set for these, and this criteria, this move we had today, fits them very, very nicely. So the sort of, as you said, I've shared some of the comments with you today that some of the members have said. Let's just go on now and look at the Dow. So this is how we had the Dow set up today. Very similar system. Well, it's a similar system. It is the same system, full stop. And you can see that is the, that's not quite, for some reason that's moved. Let me just adjust that. So that is the open of the Dow today. And we started shorting within a couple of minutes of the open, because it met our system requirements. What we are doing in the trading room is we are doing the same preparation, the same execution, and the same stops and the same targets every single day. Now, I know only too well from my own personal experience. I've been trading for a long time now. I've been investing since the mid-80s, and I've been day trading. I cut my teeth in day trading on the really volatile commodities boom in the run-up to the 07-08 crash, when oil hit $100 and soybeans skyrocketed up to $15, $16 a bushel. So I've done a long study of how these markets work, and I asked myself the question a long time ago: how can I identify the trend of the day and the targets of the day? So I asked myself the question a long time ago, and I put together 5 setups using 3 tools, only 3 tools. It's very, very minimal. And so what's unique about Scalper School is the way in which those are combined. And we use those every single day, and we expect the same results, as do the people who come in my trading room and watch me trade and trade with me. And what's happening now is I've got members of the trading room who are calling the shots. They're actually calling the trades as well. So I know they are winning traders when they actually start calling the setups and the anchor charts ahead of me. Okay, so let me just go back to show you a couple of other things on the slides. Bear with me 1 minute. The other aspect of this is, the other aspect of being a professional trader, what really differentiates professional traders? What differentiates them are the fact they add to winning trades. I mean, how many of you actually, if you've got a winning trade, how many of you actually add to it? Good question. and I have very, very specific parameters for pullbacks. So like I said at the beginning of this presentation, pullbacks are essential. If we get, what sometimes happens is we're not getting that at the moment. With the last couple of days, we're just breaking and running, and every little, at the moment, every little pullback is just getting sold into. But normally, in any normal market where you've got less volatility, but nonetheless you're still trending, you'll get specific targets, so specific pullback areas. So if you've broken out of a certain area, then we look for certain pullback zones, and that applies much more to, that's more pertinent in the case of data. For example, we got non-farm payroll on Friday. If we get a very violent move, I'm talking about 70, 80, 100 pips, to me, plus is a violent move. Whichever way that non-farm payroll data moves, if you get a big blast to the upside or a big blast to the downside, it's very high probability that over a period, now it could be half an hour, it could be an hour, it could be an hour and a half, most of the time you will return to that breakout area. And if you then get, so that's wave one, you get a wave two. Now the distance of the wave two can vary depending on a couple of things, but the beauty of this two-wave system is wave three, if it goes back in the direction of wave one, can be very, very powerful. I've had moves that have been 2,000–3,000 pips off the Dow on the back of this in extreme volatility, with huge daily breakout setups. On occasions, with a data setup like that, you can get extreme good moves. So my point is, as a professional, you need to have a system. You cannot trade in this volatile market without a system, number one. B, well, number two, not B, number two, if you have a good move, you will be advised to add to it. At the very least, three, you should be quite clear about what constitutes a pullback. And then, of course, following on from all of that, exactly what are your targets? I was in a talk not so long, about a year or so ago, and we were talking about day trading, and somebody I never met, trader, was in the back of the room. I believe from what he said, he was very successful. I think he did more swing trading than day trading, but I said to him, he talked about a particular trade he was in that was running. It was running well in his favour. I said to him, what's your target? He said, I haven't got one. So once I picked my mouth up off the floor, I said, well, why have you not got a target? Well, I don't want one, I'm just going to leave it open. Well, I don't know how you could trade like that, personally. I've got very, very specific targets. And if I'm investing, and if I'm swing trading, i.e. investing, if you're not used to the jargon, I am not going to sit in a trade where that is just, doing deep pullbacks. I'm going to trade I'm going to try and trade each wave. So if that's a strong wave, I'm going to into a target which I would have determined, and that's the pullback on a specific level. Then I would want to trade. I'd want to be in wave one. I would sit back and watch wave two, pick my spot for wave three, and so on. I do that. You can do that in day trading as well. Yeah, we all know markets don't move in one swift direction. What they do is move in waves. So if you are switched on to that, then you can determine the waves. So in the trading room, we focus on Dow and DAX, but we also look at oil, gold, and gas. We're only looking at gas at the moment because this is cyclically, this is a great time of year to trade gas. So that's why we would look to trade that. And so we also, just sort of diverting for one moment, another aspect of my trading as an investor, not a day trader, but an investor, is at the moment I have a bear rating strategy on one particular sector of the stock market, which is paying me very, very handsomely. I'm shorting any rallies in retail stocks, and that also can be part of my normal trading room discussion and trades. Okay, now before we start chatting and before I open the floor to questions, let me just talk very, very briefly about Scalper School system. If you want to learn the Scalper School system, it's a 4-hour program. It's all the modules, in very, very specific modules that include the open trading, the golden anchor and gap strategies. Then I have introduced trend build block strategy in the next program, which is basically where you can hedge. If you are a swing trader as well, an investor, I'm going to teach you how to hedge a position to really double up or treble up your profits. We go through the chart system. We have a very specific target system, and we do simulated trading in the program, and then we talk about the actual breakout strategy and so on. That is £575 or $699, depending on which side of the Atlantic you come from. And the next one is actually the 12th. So I've not updated this particular slide. It's the 12th of October, which is a Saturday. And so let's now come away from that and then look at, let's just go back to the daily charts today. So you can see all of these little there's a lovely rejection of this area here. So we break out of the open, and all these little pullbacks are sold into. So I was commenting in the alert rooms, just suggesting any lower close and 5-minute chart is shortable. And it still is. I think this is still shortable. We've got dipped underneath 26,000. At the moment, this is still shortable. Right. If you would like to ask some questions, you can type them in or you can chat. If you want to chat, just want to actually ask me a question in the room, then drop me a message in this chat box. Hopefully you can find the chat box and type it there, and we can unmute you and you can talk about that. Okay, so let's just look at another market that I like. I've had oil events today. So this has dropped hard, so I think we could quite easily see, maybe not today, maybe tomorrow, but I think we'll see 53.50 again. There we go, we're actually beginning to creep up now. So this is oil events, that's the inventory bar. Sorry, let me get this straight. That's the high and low of the first 5 minutes straight after the data. And so that has the potential for, now I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you buy this because that's counter trend. That's the direction. I'll answer that question in a minute, Manish. We did a little pullback and then resumed the downtrend. So you got a three-wave move. I'm a massive Elliott wave fan, so what I would look for is I will keep this range on my charts now for oil, because if we come back to 53.50 and put a sell signal in, I think we could potentially continue that move to the downside. How do you decide the bias for the day? The bias for the day for me is right down to the initial 5 minutes. It's as simple as that. Now, today is an easy day to teach this, because it's done exactly what a day trader or a sort of Scalper School graduate, it's done exactly what you want it to do. So yeah, the direction is quite clear. What sometimes happens is, if you've got an open range, you might get, and this was happening quite a lot recently, which is a sign that the market is due for a directional move. It would poke one side of the range, poke the other, and it does this a lot on Fed days. Federal Reserve make announcements at 7 o'clock in the evening, assuming you're a Brit like me. I don't know if you've got any US traders in the room. 7 p.m. is the Fed decision. What I do to get a lot of this on a Fed day, and other days where there's just confusing signals, that's just not a day to obviously not a day to trade. So I do not open the room on Fed days now. I have done once or twice in the past, but it's just not worth it. It's just a lot of chop. So what we do on a Fed day or a non-farm payroll day is go back to what I looked at before. We look for the initial move, whether it's up or down, and then look for the retracement. So if it's a big up move, we look for retracement back down to the breakout area. If it's a big drop, we look for at least a 50%, if not 100%, and then trade it back in the direction. So the direction for the day is dominated by that, but it's strictly in line with the golden anchor, which I've not shown you here today. The golden anchor has 3 requirements, 3 levels of price that we look at, and I've already talked about the breakout level, which is one of those 3, and this met the that breakout criteria. Okay, so even one of the beauties of the system that I trade, one of the beauties of is if you miss a trade, that's not to say that's not a disaster. It just means to say you've got to be more patient and wait for signals for either a continuation, or there are occasions where we would trade a reversal. In fact, we've traded a reversal. Yesterday's DAX in the morning was officially it was a reversal trade. So yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday morning we traded a reversal in the DAX. We did not trade a open range break. We traded a reversal, and that was very, very effective. In fact, well, as you know from hindsight, the DAX sold all day yesterday with very minor pullbacks. Let's have a look at yesterday's action. Let's go back to yesterday's action. Where are we? Here we are. So let's take that off. This is yesterday's DAX. And this area up here was a key potential reversal area for us. I started shorting, I think from memory, I started shorting around about here. Got a move, and then didn't trade this, but then switched to the US market, because this was the US manufacturing data that tracked that down. So although this is an interesting chart, because the initial direction in the early period of the day was the upside, but I did not trade to the upside at all yesterday. I only traded to the downside because it met the reversal criteria. It's sitting high. It had a decent run overnight. I think it held up on Monday. Yep, held up on Monday. Okay. This was Monday's trade. So Monday this week, it was a different story. So that's a lot of buying. So it shows you how, I think shows you how effective this system is, because there's all that buying on the Monday. On the Tuesday, I'm shorting. So I think that's a sign of a good system. If you can come into a trading room, come into a morning session, see the open push higher, and then short it. I think that is an endorsement of how good that system is. And let's face it, one of the things I talked about here was the idea that so many of us, so many traders, even experienced traders, not just less experienced traders, so many traders end up counter trend trading without even realizing it. And it's very, very common in small time frames for traders to pick up on little pickups, which in effect to me are pullbacks. So there's the directional move, there's the pullback, there's the directional move, and so on. Okay, I've got the benefit of hindsight here, but you'll see from comments that I posted, screenshot comments that people have made, that we are literally just calling potentially the next move of the session. Let's take another market. Let's look at one thing I've been trading a lot, not in the room because it's too distracting to cover too many markets, but I've been mentoring over the summer. The market that I got my new students in was this one. It's a lovely chart, and if you look back to what happened here last year, you'll see in the same period last year, it's seasonal. It's gas, natural gas. So if you pick up, one of the things I do as an experienced trader is I look for some seasonality in some of these charts and exploit it. This is where you could hedge. You could take a position in some of these breakouts here, and if you are day trading it, you could hedge, because you can either take profits or hedge, one of the two, whichever you prefer. But here you've got a situation where there's the breakout. So you can just take the whole trade off, or you can hold it and just short it intraday. And even another option you got is not only shorting it, but on these dips is adding to your position. And then there you get the breakout. This is potentially what could happen here. So we're coming into a key. We had a three-wave move to the upside, and we are currently getting a 1, 2, 3, and then we're going a three-wave pullback. So I'm just waiting to see if we can start to pick up here. Unfortunately, what's happening at the moment, it seems to be the dollar's too strong, and it's continually dragging us down. So I need to be patient. I nearly took a trade yesterday, but backed off because it just didn't meet my criteria, so I backed off and left it, and here we are still drifting lower. You look at the weekly, I am getting ready to reposition myself on this trade. But that's a good example of how you don't have to be. A lot of people just like day trading, want to day trade and make an income out of day trading. That's great. That's what I love doing too. But if you want to really generate wealth, you need to be in the bigger moves. You need to get the runners, and therefore you should look into trading as hedging as well, taking longer term trades. But you don't have to hedge, but that's an option. That's one thing you could do. Right, any further questions? Anybody wants to switch the microphone on and ask a question, or share your trading style if your trading style is different? One or two of you were later into the room. If you want me to go over anything, happy to do that. Oh, sorry, there's another question here. So, do you use the market open prices? I do not use an indicator, no. I only mark off the first 5 minute high and low. That's all I do. Yeah, I traded gold, was it yesterday? I think I bought gold yesterday, was it very recently, got stopped out, but so I have been watching that, and yeah, that's pushed up really nicely. So you can tell how much fear is in the market. So pro real time is great. That's not the only, that's what the charts you've been looking at now. I mean, the best, for me, the Rolls Royce of the chart packages is TradeStation. So you don't need a certain trading package. No, you do not need a certain trading package. This is one that I think is very good. It's not the best, but it's very good. This is pro real time that's linked up to an IG index account, because that way it's free. So this live data on pro real time is free. If you go direct to pro real time, there are advantages in going direct to pro real time, but you will end up paying a small fee for the data. I do pay for futures data on my other chart package because I'm a futures trader. So I have to pay for data streams from all the usual US exchanges, NYMEX and CBOT, etc. Some good questions. Let's have a look at gold. Yeah. Let's look at the 4 hour chart. So you can see how my 4 hour chart is set up. Yeah, I got into this obviously too early. 1460 is a key area, and so it looks as if that could come and find 1520. I know. I think I started buying. That's it. I started buying down here. I started buying this support, and it didn't work, so I left it. But so you can see how the lower price levels have done very well. Any other questions? Let's have a look at the open of this. Now the gold market is a much thinner market. I used to day trade it on the futures. I don't do it because basically I think there's much better day trading markets out there. It's not an ideal for me. So there's the old pits. Those of you who are under sort of 35, you probably won't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about pits. So there's a sort of an open range. The old pits will open about 2 o'clock. Yeah, so when we got to 3:15, that came back to the sort of main period when the volume comes into the US market, i.e. the old pit open period times, and we are still moving higher as we get closer to the old pit closure times. Anybody in the room been around long enough to know all about the trading pits? Anybody? Anyway, the trading pits used to be so important. There was an organization who used to have a live radio channel with all the noise microphones in the pits, because the volume of the pits generally indicated much more activity and volume. So yeah, that worked out really well. Right, if you would like, here's the scalperschool.co.uk. That's the link. In here, you've got several things. You've got some FAQs, which are quite good. You know, is scalping for you? Well, here's some FAQs that you might want to have a look at the bottom of the, close to the bottom of the page. Also on here is a list of what's on the program and the dates. There's 2 PayPal. If you want to join in and join our training, bear in mind this price covers 24 live trading sessions. If you join Scalper School, you get, including the price, is 24 live trading sessions. So it's an intensive program plus all those hours with me live trading. And if you want to continue, it's a nominal fee for the subsequent months that you join us. If you are a US trader, click on the bottom PayPal button. If you're a UK trader, click on the top PayPal button. Right, what else is here is, if I go to this page, latest trades, so I try and keep this up to date. Here you'll see some screenshots. Admittedly, that's quite small. I've made 327 quid in 15 minutes. Not a lot, but it was that was oil, and that was quite a slow. Yes, it's all online, by the way. Yes, sorry, I should have told you about that. It's all online. Here is £625 profit on the 26th of September. There's my target, and so on. These are all screenshots of my accounts. Triple witching is a very important day of the year, so I try to make everybody aware of that. And because the markets have been quite range bound the last couple of weeks, so there's not any big whacking great profits in there because it's been so range bound. But so I must put up some more recent chart packages, screenshots. Anybody, so have a look at that program. By all means, contact me from there and ask me any questions or call me. There is phone numbers and WhatsApp details and so on there. But drop me a line if you want to just email me if you want to have any further conversations about this. These are screenshots straight from SurveyMonkey. So I ask everybody to do a 2-minute survey after the program, and these are a few screenshots from one of the early programs. I will update that. Okay, so let's have a look at where we are at the moment in the markets. So the Dow is still, these highs are still selling. I think these highs are still shortable. So we've had a 455 pip move from the opening price. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, no more questions coming in, so I will leave it there. I'm quite hungry, so I'm going to go off and get some dinner. There's plenty of time to email me or ask me any questions, and I will be updating the website with some shots of my account and more feedback. So thank you very much for your time, and I will be doing a specific session next Wednesday on a completely different aspect of day trading. So look out for that next week. All right, thanks very much. Bye for now, and look forward to hearing from you. Bye.